What is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Let's get right into it. We have an update on the situation with, of course, what the president did, in fact, to try to make Putin to come to the table or to try to make some changes with what is going on. Of course, Kremlin is supposedly coming back and mocking Trump's 50-day deadline. Now, this deadline, to some, said that in essentially 50 days, we're going to go to war with Russia. We've had tons of these deadlines with Iran and other countries where they say 30 days, if you don't do this, then we'll do this. A lot of these deadlines come and go. So, it's not necessarily World War III in 50 days. In fact, most of the events, if there was a deadline, in the case of Iran, Dex made a very good point last night that if before the 60 days deadline, that's when the huge strike happened, right? So it could happen before, it could happen after, as far as any kind of, fight when you see these deadlines. So again, our community is looking at this and going, holy crap. Well, here's the thing. This is, we're talking about more tariffs, 100% on what they're actually charging, anything, imports or exports going in and out. And of course, with this, that is a huge deal because they are already hurt. And a lot of people think that we have cut business ties with Russia, which is not true. In fact, a lot of countries are still working with Russia in certain areas. They may be an adversary, but they've kept trade open. Trump on Monday vowed to slap a brutal 100% tariff on Russia if Moscow did not reach a peace agreement with Ukraine within 50 days. Dismissing the president's ultimatum, Russian foreign minister said, "We of course want to understand what is behind this statement. 50 days. It used to be 24 hours. It used to be 100 days. We have been through all of this, and we really want to understand what motivates the president of the United States." So they're saying that it's empty words, that they've been through deadlines and, one after another, and it doesn't really mean much to them. I believe this because I honestly think that they have a bigger plan in place. My personal opinion is that they are waiting and everyone is stalling because they are going to kick off something altogether. China, Russia, of course, North Korea, Iran, Cuba, Venezuela, the whole 9 yards, which is going to be more apparent. And we're going to show you stuff not only on today's show, but again, on future shows this week, where there's a lot of stuff coming out. Now, before we move on, I do want to remind you guys, if there is ever an EMP attack on our country, which is one of the more likely scenarios out of all of them, going after our grid and going after our, essentially the foundation of everything we have infrastructure-wise, you either try to do a cyber attack or do an EMP. Again, an electromagnetic pulse attack could take down our whole grid, and it would definitely be a bad thing. They say 90% of the United States could die, and that is not because we're taking each other out or the actual thing itself hurts you. It's because our infrastructure with water goes down. It's really down to water. So on top of food and water, you should definitely get protection. This protects you not only against EMP, on your cars, trucks, motorcycles, boats, generators, gas, and solar. Again, your home and every other device you can think of that you want to keep running. But it also protects you against a CME, or coronal mass ejection from the sun. Go to marfooglenews.com/EMP. It takes 10 minutes to put in your car, and it will be something that you will not have to worry about anymore. All right, and then marfooglenews.com/EMP, code MARF will get you $50 off per device, and it will help us out at the same time. All right, let's bring in my co-host/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
All right, so let's talk about Japan calling China's military activity a challenge. Let's go over that.
Yeah, Japan cautioned against China's rapid acceleration of military activity stretching from its southwestern coast to the Pacific, describing the moves in a new defense report that it came out, and then talking about China being the biggest strategic challenge. So China's growing military cooperation with Russia also poses serious security concerns, along with the increasing tensions around Taiwan and those coming from North Korea. This is coming from the Defense Ministry. It was putting out an annual report to the cabinet. The quote is, "The international society in its new crisis era, as it faces the biggest challenges since the end of World War II." He goes on to say that, that China is the biggest threat right now. This is similar to what we've seen coming out of the U.S., but the security threats are concentrated in the Indo-Pacific area, obviously around the contested islands in the southwest with China, which would also, as you relate to Russia, is going to have the contested islands in the north with Japan as well. So they've got it at both ends, so to speak. So China's foreign ministry spokesperson Lin Jiang criticized the paper, saying it adopts a wrongful perception of China and unjustifiably interferes with China's internal affairs and plays up the so-called China threat. I'm imagining that China's foreign ministry would say that because they don't want to have anybody thinking that they're the bad guy. And clearly Japan is painting that picture. So, but Beijing has also lodged the protests. We talked about this against their military activities, specifically a lot of the flybys that they were doing with their jets recently with the carriers they put out in the Pacific.
Now, a lot of the, you have to realize that Japan has been a self-defense country as far as they didn't take their militaries and go into people's backyards, and they haven't been aggressive since the end of World War II. They used to be an imperialistic, aggressive society, and they were conquering. In fact, in World War II, before they did Pearl Harbor, the whole reason they did that is because we did an oil embargo on them that basically left them with 2 years left of strategic oil reserves. At that time, they were actually conquering or taking over places in China. So they have their own history. That's another thing to understand is Japan and China have their own history. And this is something where, Japan is changing everything about their country, or at least what has been, a solid kind of state of matters since World War II. So it is really kind of something to look at, that Japan is reverting back to a militaristic country, and they are also doing all of this talk, playing up the threat because they have to work with their own government and how it works. They are hyping up the China threat too. Which means that they get more funding and more this, and they change their constitution to where they are forward thinking. Now they have their ships going through the Taiwan Strait, pushing buttons. Japan is luckily on our side this time because they are not a joke. And then this is really crazy. So first of all, when you look at the front of it, I almost thought this was AI when I first saw the picture. Because you're looking at this and you're thinking, how the heck is that flying? So the wings are actually back here and under. So I thought that this was the entire thing. In fact, I think when I first did the thumb, I blurred out the parts. So that's where I thought it was, right? I thought the bottom was the boat. And I really couldn't see until you actually look at other pictures, right? So check this out. This thing can go 340 miles over the sea. Again, this is a plane, a ship. No, it's not Superman. It's super scary because look at this thing. It is essentially a new version of this Soviet naval vessel. This is what the old school one looked like when the Soviets made it. So these are launchers, and they can launch. That looks big enough to launch a nuke. This is very, very crazy. I mean, look at this thing. So it gets up going. The jets can essentially lift it. So it's basically skimming the waters. I mean, we're talking 400 miles an hour. Now, when you need to cross a complete ocean, I wonder how this would help in, crossing an ocean, say getting from China to the U.S. How many people can this carry? Can this carry tanks? Can this carry other things? That's the crazy part. Can they make bigger versions of this to carry even bigger things? Dex, when you saw this, I mean, this is nuts looking, and they're now making it again. Like, what would be the purpose of this?
Well, yeah. What failed with the Soviet version that made them think, and what did they solve that they think that they could make it again? But yeah, it's called the Sea Monster, specifically named after the ocean that it's been flying in, the Bohai Sea Monster. But it's basically their own version of the Chronoplan, which was the name given to the Soviet version when they built it. So they're building a new version of this. Obviously, and it's an experimental stage, but looks like they're willing to test and try anything, or maybe even, find the flaws that were in the past and solve them today to make something better. I wonder how this compares to, say, high-speed hydrofoils or something else that can move really quickly across the water. If this is more efficient, less efficient, or if there's something different about it. Obviously, it's not in the water; it's skimming across the water. And I wonder what happens when it hits, like, a monster swell or something.
Well, and here's the other part. This is one of the main parts why I think that they're doing this, since it is so low to the water, it is hard for detection systems to pick this up. So, is this to hide from Taiwan as they're coming in? Are they going to quickly load up? And then what are the things on for the top? I believe, again, that those could be used to launch missiles. And again, is this for Taiwan? Or is this possibly thinking down the road for crossing the ocean to go to us, What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. And then make sure to join us for our next show. We're going to be talking about the White House and why it went on lockdown. What the heck happened? And again, is there something going on that we don't know about? We'll talk about all of that on our next show over on Marfoogle TV. All right, thank you guys. We'll see you. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. If you're in chat, just stay there. If you're watching the replay, all you have to do is click here.